watch the Lakers.
Oh,
They
okay.
won. I don't watch baseball.
Richard, was there any reaction from the NFL or anything to any of the things you said after the game in terms of the penalties?
I'm sure there was some reaction, but nothing that they've made me aware of. Nothing in terms of fines or anything.
Have they ever fined you for what you've said about them?
No.
Are you surprised if that's true?
Not really. I mean, sometimes the truth is the truth is the truth. I mean, it is what it is. This is basically reality TV, so I guess I'm good for ratings probably.
You said after the game, we're the Seahawks in terms of, why you're getting some of the calls or no calls. It almost sounded like a conspiracy theorist, almost like they're out to get you. Do you believe that?
I mean, it's just the numbers speak for themselves. They've always spoke for themselves. And I heard you ask Pete about, is it just our aggressive style of play or whatever, but we're always at the bottom of the league in defensive holding or, illegal contact or PI. We're usually one of the least penalized in that regard, but we're still one of the highest penalized teams, and our opponents aren't penalized at all. So it's just funny, you just go out there and keep playing. I mean, I'm sure it's some way the league has of evening out everything. We have a really good team, so, I guess you got to do something.
What do you think that looks like? Is it someone from the top in the commissioner's office talking to the refs? Or
I have no idea. They're real connected to the New York office nowadays, aren't they? So I'm sure that's fun. But it is what it is. We go out there and play. I mean, they're going to be they're going to come back and they're going to apologize the next day. We probably lead the league in NFL apologies. The next day, that was a pick route. That was a pick route. It should have been called. It should have been called. Yeah, it might have cost you the game, but so what? It's too late now.
So you agree with Bruce Arians then on his sentiment for the sorry about that call? Bruce said the Cardinal head coach went on, said the same thing as you said, that who cares about apologies during the game?
Exactly. I mean, I do agree with that sentiment. His was a little different. He called about a call that wasn't going to get changed either way. But ours is that was a pick play. Yeah, they blocked him, but it is what it is now. It was a 30-yard gain on third down. No, they said Deshaun Shedd was some of the best coverage they'd seen, and no, that shouldn't have been a fact. But now it's a first down and it led to points on that drive. So you just go out there and try to play. You can't control that, obviously. Nothing you can do about it.
But the one guy said we're doing the best we can. Was that?
Yeah, that was his answer. And I responded by, we're doing the best we can too, but you guys are kind of not giving us a chance. But it's funny, when it's obvious like it was on Sunday. It's real funny to us. We have a good time with it because the fans can probably see it. The fans can finally see it. Sometimes it's incidental, it's small, it's deceptive. Most people can't catch it. But this game, it was so obvious. One of the worst penalized teams in the league doesn't get a penalty. Other than an obvious false start that they didn't want to call.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. What's your understanding of that rule and at what point it becomes illegal, the pick play?
Well, they say if you're not within a yard of the receiver, which at any point usually we aren't because they're so far off the line of scrimmage that we can't be within a yard of them. So if we're within a yard of them, they can block us, which sounds like the most ridiculous thing in the world. If you're engaged with a receiver, another receiver can just come block you off of them. Like defense isn't hard enough to play with the millions of flags that we have and millions of penalties we have. But so on that play, Jay Lane, the guy motioned over, so there was no way for Jay Lane to get within a yard of him because he was on the move. So he was about 2-3 yards, and he was stumbling back, and the guy kind of just knocked him to the ground. Usually, it looked pretty obvious. I mean, I'm in the middle of the play, and I saw it because the guy that I was guarding was the one who blocked him, but it is what it is.
So on the two pick plays and also the Shedd holding, they admitted that those should have been flags?
Yep. But it doesn't matter.
Sean Payton brought up this week the idea of full-time refs. Do you have a solution for making anything better in terms of
make the rule book a lot less extensive. You got a bunch of freaking rocket scientists writing rules, I guess, for a simple game. And like I said before, like I've always said, they always say they ask players and coaches, about rules and rule changes, but they really don't take what they say into account, obviously, because the game is entirely too difficult to officiate to be written by coaches and players, to be influenced by coaches and players. This game would be a lot more simplified for the refs. Obvious calls would have to be made. If it affects the play, it'd have to be made. But you're letting anytime, Earl Thomas got called for illegal contact on a play where he just pretty much ran the route for the receiver, and then you don't get called when the receiver just blocks a dude in the end zone to the ground on a pass play. So you got to simplify it. You got to give them less things to watch because it's hard for them to ever protect a defensive player.
How would you write a rule for defensive pass interference?
Well, I'd even it out. I'd take illegal contact out, or I'd call it both ways. If we can't touch them past 5 yards, then they can't initiate contact with us past 5 yards. But then it kind of sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Just as illegal contact is a ridiculous rule and impossible to officiate because they can literally run into you at any point on the field and get that call. All you got to do is initiate the contact, 4th and 55, and you got a first down. It makes it difficult to play defense because now they know the rules. They can manipulate the rules, and the refs see what they think they see.
Cliff Avril getting Player of the Month. Just good to see a guy who's been around a while get that recognition.
It's fantastic to see him get some recognition, some appreciation. Hopefully our fans go out there and vote for him so he can get a Pro Bowl under his belt. I mean, he's up there with the league leaders in sacks. Every game, consistently getting after the quarterback, getting a ton of pressures, getting a ton of quarterback hits. It's outstanding to see him getting the recognition that he definitely deserves.
What's he like in a defensive meeting room? How much does he talk? What kind of a leader is he?
Cliff doesn't talk at all. Cliff doesn't talk at all in meetings. But he's a fantastic leader. That says nothing about his leadership qualities. He's an incredible leader. He's an incredible guy in the huddle. When things aren't going great, he's more vocal in those situations than he is on a day-to-day in meetings. He's just kind of sitting back there eating his seeds. But he's a great leader and somebody everybody respects on the team.
You've consistently called out Roger Goodell, throughout the years. Have you heard any kind of blowback from the league at all, or what do you hear from anyone? Maybe people are going, all right, way to stand up for us, Richard, or coaches saying, well, Richard, back off. What kind of reaction?
Nothing. I mean, more just players, understanding that it's the truth and applauding me and saying they wouldn't have said it, but, they respect that I said it. Nothing from coaches, nothing from the league. It's the truth. He hasn't done a great job, and it's obvious. So, for us to say he hasn't done a great job, it's kind of just, beating a dead horse, honestly.
If there is any bias against the Seahawks, do you think you might have anything to do with that?
I don't know. Maybe, perhaps. I don't know. But, cheating is cheating. So, if there is bias, then, it's quite the deal. Quite petty, but whatever.
If you had, let's say, a wand.
Exactly. The most powerful wand.
Let's say if you had a wand, what would be one thing you would change about the NFL?
The rules, the defensive rules. I mean, I'd give defensive players, I'd even it out. Everybody's saying, why are the passing numbers? Because it's easy to pass. Because it's, either you get a completion, you get a penalty, any penalty. Like if you don't get an incompletion, they may call roughing the passer because your D lineman got pushed into the quarterback or his pinky finger grazed his helmet. You might get a roughing the passer, or you may get a illegal contact, or you may get a holding, or hands to the face on a D lineman. There's so many ways they can win on that play that have nothing to do with execution.
Richard, would you like it to be more like the 80s and 70s on defense? I mean, where they could get pretty physical.
Yeah, I would love that. I'd love that. I'd love us to be able to play football, in an even scale. I'd love quarterbacks to be able to get hit, and it not be at a flag. There have been several sacks where there's roughing the passer on a sack. It's ridiculous, but you can't play like that anymore. And people wonder why those records are going to last forever. Those defensive records, because they're not letting us play defense right now. They're not letting us go after the quarterback. You can't have cover a receiver without getting a flag. You can't do anything. They can just chuck the ball 80 yards and get an 80-yard penalty and move the ball. It is what it is.
See receivers trying to draw a PI as opposed to maybe catching the ball?
They do. There are a lot of times they're intentionally trying to draw the PI because they can't get open, but there's nothing we can do about that. I mean, there are plays they grab you by the back of the helmet and pull you by, and you got to find a way to recover because you're not going to get a call.
You have a little black book on which receivers are more adept at that? You have to prepare each game?
I don't got a black book, but I know which ones are, who they are, and what they like to do. But, you got to just prepare for it.
Richard, there's a lot of conversation this year about NFL ratings, and there's the baseball game the other night got a higher rating than the Sunday night football game.
There you go.
Why do you think ratings are down?
Because the league isn't fun anymore. Every other league, you see the players have a good time. It's a game. This isn't politics. This isn't justice. This is entertainment. And they're no longer allowing the players to entertain. They're no longer allowing the players to show any kind of personality, any kind of uniqueness, any individuality, because they want to control the product. They want to control the messaging, et cetera, et cetera. Except when it comes to, like, you know, they say we're trying to influence kids, and that's their biggest thing. You know, that's their biggest ploy, is that you don't want to be a bad influence to kids. You don't want to be a bad role model. And I can agree with that. But in the same breath, you can't say Budweiser is the official sponsor of the NFL and we're trying to influence kids. So, you know, there's a ton of hypocrisy, but it doesn't matter because we don't control it.
Richard, would you say it's cyclical, though? Like the NBA, they made the no fun. They have the same thing. They said, no, it's no fun anymore. And now the NFL is saying that same thing. So would you say that you guys all players go through that same?
No, I think the NBA made an adjustment. I think they made an adjustment. Their players were unhappy. They went on strike. They got a new commissioner. New commissioner has made it a lot more fun. He's a lot more lenient on the guys. You know, they're out there shooting threes and putting whatever signs up. You know, they have personality. You can think of James Harden. You know, if you do that in the NFL, you might get fined. You know, there's a chance you get a penalty on a play like that. And the NFL says it's because they don't want taunting, they don't want people angry and fighting, but this is a combative game. You know, anytime somebody scores a touchdown, you're angry. You're not angry at them, you're angry at yourself. It was a mistake. So it's not like them celebrating is the thing that's going to frustrate you. It's you know, you're already frustrated. You know, don't let them catch a touchdown then if you don't want to be frustrated. But once again, you're going to people who've never played this game at this level, so they don't understand those things. They don't understand the emotion of the game. They don't understand the passion. The entertainment value. All they understand is what they do and what they think is right, and that's the way they dictate it.
What kind of line would you draw for that? For, like, you know, so not excessive, too much excessive, but, you know.
Nothing disrespectful or demonstrative. You know, obviously, nothing lewd, nothing you wouldn't do in front of your mother, but some of these things are pretty funny, pretty hilarious celebrations. You know, there used to be some hilarious dance moves that you can't do anymore because, you know, you don't know if they're suggestive or whatever the case may be.
Two pumps.
Not even two pumps these days because two pumps are close.
You mentioned that
Their wives are watching, apparently.
Roughing the passer, some of those rules have been instituted, the league would argue, for player safety. Do you think that's the motivation for them, and do you sort of buy that justification?
I don't buy it. That's for public perception, you know, of them trying to. They don't care about player safety. I've said this several times, but they do care about paying the quarterback $20 million and him missing the season. You know, they do care about that. So whether they get to say player safety or whatever it is, you know, they're tired of $20 million quarterback sitting on the bench on IR for the whole season. So they're going to do whatever they can to protect their investments, and that's universal.
Do you think the concussion issue has had any influence on fans in terms of discouraging them or not liking the game as much?
No, because they loved it. Because they loved it before then. You know, the most celebrated part of football used to be the violence. You know, they used to, every year, top 10 biggest hits. You know, you see Rodney Lott, you see, you know, a bunch of huge hits. John Lynch, guys like that just, you know, mangling people. And that's why people watched. People didn't watch to see people play, you know, pity-pat.
Pete was asked about the way this team historically has finished a lot stronger than it starts. Why do you think that is for you guys if you've been a good finishing team?
I don't know. I guess we just last longer. How we're built, I have no idea. We just play hard to the end, and I guess some people kind of fall off at the end of the season. Guys get fatigue, attrition, things like that.
Richard, looking at the Bills, what stands out to you about their offense?
They have a lot of explosive plays. Tyrod does a great job getting around in the pocket. They have some speedsters on the outside. Shady has done a great job making big plays, but their backup running back has also done a great job getting big yardage. So, you know, you got to respect the things that they do.
Expecting to see Percy Harvin?
I'm sure we'll see him a little bit. I'm not sure how much, you know, they can bring him in right away, but who knows?
Why do you think that you guys are so good on Monday night primetime games?
I have no idea. I mean, maybe because they don't want the refs to control the game in those games.
Why would they not want the refs to control those?
Too many people watching. Too many people watching in prime time. They can't make it look that obvious.
What were your memories of Percy Harvin as a teammate?
He was a good guy. He was a competitor. He was strong-willed. He's a guy that goes out there and works every day.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.